Dad walked into my restaurant at 11 a.m. on a Tuesday, when we were prepping for lunch service. He brought my stepmother Patricia and a man in an expensive suit carrying architectural plans. I was in the kitchen reviewing the seafood delivery with my sous chef when my hostess Mira came back, looking uncomfortable. "Your father is here. He says he needs to speak with you. He has people with him." I wiped my hands on my apron and walked to the dining room. Dad was standing in the center of the space. The restaurant I'd spent 3 years building, the place that had just received its first Michelin star, looking at the exposed brick walls and custom light fixtures like he was evaluating a property investment. "Sophia," he said, not bothering with hello. "We need to talk about this space. I'm in the middle of prep. Can this wait?" "No, it can't." He gestured to the man with the plans. "This is Andrew Chin, an architect. We're here to discuss the future of this property." I looked at Patricia, who gave me her trademark tight smile, the one that said she knew something I didn't and was enjoying it. "What future?" Dad set his briefcase on one of my tables, the custom walnut tables I'd had made by a local craftsman, and pulled out a folder. "Your little restaurant experiment has been cute, Sophia." He gave it a real try. "But let's be honest, it's not sustainable. The margins are too thin, the hours are too long, and you're 32 years old with nothing to show for it but a kitchen that smells like fish." My sous chef, James, appeared in the kitchen doorway. I shook my head slightly. He disappeared. "The restaurant is profitable," I said. "Barely. I've looked at the numbers. You're bringing in maybe $40,000 a year after expenses. That's not a career, that's a hobby." Dad opened his folder. "Patricia and I are expanding my consulting firm. We need office space. This location is perfect. Central downtown, good parking, high foot traffic. We're converting it." "Converting what?" "This space. The restaurant. We're transforming it into the new headquarters for Westbrook Consulting Group." He gestured to Andrew. "Show her." Andrew reluctantly unrolled the architectural plans. They showed my restaurant gutted, walls removed, the open kitchen closed off, cubicles where my dining tables currently stood. "You can't be serious," I said. "I'm completely serious. This lease is month to month, correct? We're giving you 90 days notice. That's more than generous." Dad's tone was the one he used in business negotiations. Firm, final, not open for discussion. "You'll have time to close down properly, let your staff go, sell the equipment. This is my restaurant. This is a commercial space that's being underutilized. Sophia, you're a smart girl. You have to see that running a restaurant at your age with your background is basically throwing away your potential. It's time to grow up and do something real." Patricia finally spoke, her voice honey-sweet. "Your father is trying to help you, Sophia. You could come work for the consulting firm. We'd find a position for you. Administrative support, maybe marketing. Something stable." I looked at my father, the man who'd told me at 18 that culinary school was a waste of money, who'd refused to attend my graduation from Le Cordon Bleu, who'd skipped my restaurant's opening night because he had a business dinner. "When did you plan to tell me about this?" "I'm telling you now. We close on the consulting firm expansion deal next month. We need this space by January 1st. He started rolling up the plans. "I know this is disappointing, but you'll thank me in 5 years when you have a real career instead of playing chef." "I am a chef. This restaurant just got a Michelin star." Dad waved his hand dismissively. "Those awards are participation trophies. They don't mean anything in the real business world. What matters is profit, growth, sustainability. And this," he gestured around the dining room, "this is not sustainable." I pulled out my phone. "What are you doing?" Dad asked. "Calling my attorney." "Your attorney?" "Sophia, don't be dramatic." I put the phone on speaker. It rang twice before Michael Reynolds answered. "Sophia, hi. What's up?" "Michael, I have my father here. He's just informed me that he's planning to convert my restaurant into office space. Can you please explain the property status to him?" There was a brief pause. Then Michael's voice, carefully professional. "Of course. Who am I speaking with?" "Robert Westbrook," Dad said, his jaw tight. "And I don't know what kind of game." "Mr. Westbrook, the property located at 847 Pearl Street, San Francisco, is held in an irrevocable trust established in August 2018. The trust was created by the late Margaret Westbrook with Sophia Claire Westbrook as the sole beneficiary and trustee. The property, including the building and land, is valued at approximately $6.5 million and is completely protected from any claims by outside parties. The color drained from Dad's face. What trust? Patricia said. Margaret never mentioned a trust. The trust was established 6 months before Mrs. Westbrook's death, Michael continued. It specifically transferred ownership of the Pearl Street property to her granddaughter with ironclad language preventing any family challenges. Mr. Westbrook and Mrs. Patricia Westbrook have zero legal claim to the property. Any attempt to force conversion or eviction would be met with immediate legal action. Dad found his voice. That's not possible. My mother didn't own that property. It was in a commercial real estate LLC. Westbrook Properties LLC, correct? Which Mrs. Westbrook dissolved in July 2018, transferring all assets to the trust. The documentation was filed with the county and is a matter of public record. Would you like me to send you copies? I watched my father's face go from pale to red. Yes, I said to Michael. Please send copies to my father's office. Today. Will do. Anything else you need? That's all. Thanks, Michael. I hung up. The silence in the restaurant was absolute. Even the kitchen had gone quiet. James and the prep cooks were definitely listening. You've owned this building since 2018? Dad's voice was barely controlled. Since Grandma died, yes. She left you a $6.5 million property and you never mentioned it? You never asked. You came to the restaurant opening for 15 minutes, said it was cute, and left. You never asked about the lease, the financing, the business structure. You just assumed I was renting month to month and barely scraping by. Patricia's face had gone hard. This is why we never saw any lease payments in the estate accounting. Margaret didn't own rental property, she'd already transferred it. Transferred it to her granddaughter who actually gave a damn about her in her final months, I said, looking directly at Dad. The granddaughter who visited every day while you were too busy building your consulting empire to spend time with your dying mother. Dad's hands were shaking. You manipulated a sick old woman. I visited her. I cooked for her. I sat with her during chemo. I held her hand when she was scared. My voice stayed level. And yes, we talked about the future. She knew I wanted to open a restaurant. She knew this building would be perfect. She knew you'd never support me. So she made sure I'd have what I needed to succeed without you. We could contest the trust. You could try. Michael has documentation showing that Grandma was mentally competent when she established the trust. That she worked with 3 different attorneys to ensure it was ironclad. And that she specifically included language addressing potential challenges from family members. She knew exactly what she was doing. Andrew the architect quietly started rolling up his plans. I want to see the trust documents, Dad said. Michael is sending them to your office. You'll have them by end of day. This is unbelievable. She was my mother. She was. And she chose to leave this property to me because I was the one who showed up for her. You were too busy making money to make time. I crossed my arms. Now if you'll excuse me, I have a lunch service to prepare for. You need to leave. Sophia. This is my property. You're trespassing. Leave or I'll call the police and have you removed. Dad grabbed his briefcase. Patricia grabbed her purse. Andrew practically fled. At the door, Dad turned back. This isn't over. Actually, it is. The trust is irrevocable. The property is mine. Your consulting firm will have to find a different location. I smiled. Good luck with your expansion. They left. James appeared from the kitchen. Chef, that was lunch service in 90 minutes. Get back to prep. But I was shaking. And I needed to sit down before my staff saw their Michelin-starred chef fall apart. I wasn't always invisible to my father. When I was little, before he remarried, before the consulting firm, before success became the only metric that mattered, we were close. He taught me to cook. We'd spend Sunday mornings making pancakes together, and he'd tell me stories about his mother, Grandma Margaret, who'd come to America with nothing and built a small real estate empire through determination and strategy. Then Mom died when I was 12. Everything changed. Dad threw himself into work. Met Patricia at a business conference 2 years later. Married her within 6 months. Suddenly our Sunday pancake mornings were replaced with business dinners and networking events where I didn't fit. Your father is building something important, Patricia would say when I complained about his absence. You need to be more understanding. At 16, I told Dad I wanted to go to culinary school. Absolutely not. You're going to a real college for a real degree. Business or economics. I want to be a chef. Chefs don't make money, Sophia. Chefs work 80-hour weeks for poverty wages. You're smarter than that. I went to UC Berkeley for business because I didn't know how to fight him yet. Hated every minute of it. Graduated with a 3.8 GPA and a deep certainty that I'd made a terrible mistake. See, Dad said at graduation. You're capable of real academic achievement. Now you can get an MBA, join a good consulting firm, build a career. Instead, I applied to Le Cordon Bleu in Paris. Got in. Paid for it myself with money I'd saved from internships and a small inheritance from Mom's parents. Told Dad 2 weeks before I left. You're throwing your life away, he said. I'm following my passion. Passion doesn't pay bills. I went anyway. Spent 2 years in Paris learning classical technique, working in kitchens, understanding what it meant to create food that mattered. Came back to San Francisco at 26 with a degree, experience, and a dream. The only person who cared was Grandma Margaret. Grandma was 83 when I came back from Paris. She lived in a beautiful old Victorian in Pacific Heights, mostly alone except for a part-time caretaker. Dad visited her maybe once a month. Patricia never visited at all. I started stopping by weekly. Made her dinner. Fixed things around the house. Sat with her and listened to her stories about immigrating from Taiwan, about building her real estate business when women weren't supposed to do that, about the properties she'd bought and sold over the decades. Your father thinks real estate is boring now, she told me one evening while I made her mapo tofu. He wants to consult, to strategize, to help other people make money. He forgot that you have to own things to build real wealth. Tell me about your properties. She smiled. I have 3 left. 2 residential buildings in the Sunset renting to families. And 1 commercial property on Pearl Street downtown. Beautiful building. 1920s construction, exposed brick, perfect bones. What's in it now? Nothing. The last tenant left 6 months ago. I've been thinking about what to do with it. She looked at me carefully. What would you do with 3,000 square feet of commercial space in downtown San Francisco? I told her about my dream. A restaurant focused on seasonal, local ingredients. Modern American with Asian influences. A space that felt like home but elevated. Somewhere between casual and fine dining, accessible but excellent. She listened to the whole thing without interrupting. Then she said, "Show me a business plan." I spent 3 months building it. Revenue projections, menu concepts, design sketches, competitive analysis. I researched everything. Average check sizes, table turnover rates, labor costs, food cost percentages. Brought it to Grandma in a bound presentation. She read every page. Then she said, "You'll need $400,000 to build this out properly. Equipment, renovation, initial operating capital, marketing. Do you have that?" "No. I have $50,000 saved. I was going to try to get investors or a bank loan. Investors will want control. Banks will want collateral you don't have." She closed the business plan. "I'll make you a deal. I'll give you the building. No rent. You use your savings and a small business loan to build out the restaurant. You keep 100% ownership. You build something beautiful." "Grandma, I can't accept." "You can and you will. Because I'm 83 years old, Sophia. My time is limited. I want to see you succeed before I die. And I want your father to see that he was wrong about you." "What about Dad? Won't he be upset?" "Your father already got his inheritance. I helped fund his consulting firm 5 years ago. This is my money to give and I'm giving it to the grandchild who actually spends time with me." We set up the trust in August 2018. Michael Reynolds, an attorney Grandma had worked with for decades, structured it as an irrevocable trust with me as beneficiary and trustee. The Pearl Street property was transferred from Grandma's LLC into the trust, along with $150,000 in cash for renovations. "This protects you," Michael explained. "When your grandmother passes, this property can't be contested. It's not part of her estate. It's already yours." Grandma died 3 months later in November 2018. Pancreatic cancer. It happened fast. I was with her at the end. Dad showed up for the last 2 days, looking uncomfortable in the hospice room. You were always her favorite, he said not kindly the day after she died. I was the one who showed up. Same thing to her. I opened Provisions in March 2019. The build-out took 6 months. I hired a designer who understood my vision. Warm, inviting, sophisticated without being pretentious. We kept the exposed brick, added custom lighting, built an open kitchen so diners could watch us cook. I hired a small team. James as sous chef, a talented cook who'd been stuck in a hotel kitchen and needed a chance to do something creative. Mira as front-of-house manager, a hospitality professional who believed in the concept. 3 line cooks. 2 servers. 1 bartender. Dad came to the opening night for 15 minutes. Nice space, he said looking around. What's your rent? It's manageable. Make sure you're watching your food costs. Most restaurants fail in the first year. He left before appetizers were served. Patricia didn't come at all. But the restaurant worked. We started small, 40 seats, dinner service only Tuesday through Saturday. Focused on doing a few things exceptionally well. The reviews were strong. We built a following. By year 2 we added lunch service. By year 3 we had a waiting list for prime reservations. And in October 2024 we got the Michelin star. I was in the kitchen when the call came. James screamed. Mira cried. The whole staff celebrated like we'd won the lottery. I called Grandma's number, disconnected for 6 years, and said thank you anyway. Dad sent a text. Congratulations on the award. That was it. No mention of coming to celebrate. No acknowledgement of what it meant. Just 8 words. I didn't respond. And then 3 weeks later he showed up with Patricia and an architect, ready to convert my restaurant into office space. The trust documents arrived at Dad's office at 4 p.m. that same day. Michael called me at 4:30. Your father's attorney just contacted me. They want to discuss potential challenges to the trust. Let them try. Sophia, I need to be clear about something. Your grandmother was extremely thorough. She had 3 independent medical evaluations confirming her mental competency. She worked with me and 2 other attorneys to draft the trust language. She included a no-contest clause that would void any inheritance for family members who challenge it. It's ironclad. So why is Dad's attorney calling you? Because they're hoping there's a weakness they can exploit. There isn't. But they'll spend $50,000 in legal fees finding that out. Let them waste their money. Dad called me that evening. I didn't answer. He called again. I declined. He texted, we need to talk about this like adults. I replied, there's nothing to discuss. The property is mine. Your expansion plans are your problem. He called 5 more times. I blocked his number. Patricia called from her phone. I blocked that too. The next day, Dad showed up at the restaurant again. This time during dinner service. Mira came back to the kitchen. Your father is in the dining room. He doesn't have a reservation. He's demanding to speak with you. Tell him I'm busy. He's being loud. He's upsetting the other diners. I put down my knife, wiped my hands and walked out to the dining room. Dad was standing near the host stand, his face red. Patricia sat at the bar looking embarrassed. Sophia, we need to talk. Lower your voice. This is a place of business. This is family business. No, this is my business. And you're disrupting service. Either sit down and order dinner or leave. I'm not leaving until we discuss this trust situation. I pulled out my phone and called the police. Dad's eyes went wide. What are you doing? Calling SFPD. You're trespassing. I'm your father. You're a person with no legal right to be in my restaurant making a scene. You can leave voluntarily or you can be escorted out. Patricia stood up. Robert, let's go. I'm not going anywhere until... Sir, I need you to leave. This was James appearing from the kitchen. 6'3" ex-college football player, arms crossed. Behind him 2 of our line cooks. Dad looked at me. James. At the other diners watching this unfold. This isn't over, he said. Yes it is. Don't come back. They left. I went back to the kitchen and finished service. Plated 17 entrees. Made sure every dish was perfect. But my hands were shaking the whole time. Dad's attorney sent a letter the following week. Michael forwarded it to me with a note. This is exactly what I expected. Completely without merit. Want me to respond? The letter claimed that Grandma had been unduly influenced, that I'd manipulated a sick elderly woman, that the trust should be voided and the property returned to the estate for proper distribution. Respond however you think is appropriate, I told Michael. His response was thorough and devastating. Medical records proving Grandma's competency. Affidavits from her other attorneys confirming she'd made the decision independently. Documentation of Dad's minimal involvement in her care during her final years versus my daily visits. And then Michael added something I hadn't expected. A detailed timeline of Dad's visits to Grandma in her last 2 years. 11 total visits. Average length, 37 minutes. Compared to my visits, 347 documented visits. Average length, 3 hours. The numbers were brutal. Dad's attorney withdrew the challenge 2 weeks later. But Dad himself didn't call. Didn't apologize. Just went silent. I heard through a family friend that Westbrook Consulting had found a different office space. Smaller than they'd wanted. More expensive. In a worse location. I felt nothing about that. Patricia called me in December from a number I didn't recognize. Sophia, I know you probably don't want to talk to me, but I wanted to invite you to Christmas dinner. Your father won't admit it, but he misses you. Does he? He does. He's just too proud to say it. You know how he is. Her voice went soft, pleading. It's Christmas, Sophia. Family should be together. Why? Because that's what families do. Families also support each other's dreams. Families show up. Families don't try to steal each other's businesses. I paused. Tell Dad that if he wants to talk to me, he can start by acknowledging what he tried to do. What he said about my restaurant. How he's treated me since I came back from Paris. He's not going to apologize, Sophia. You know that. Then we have nothing to discuss. Merry Christmas, Patricia. I spent Christmas at the restaurant. We did a special prix-fixe menu for 18 guests. People who didn't have family or didn't want to be with family. People who chose to spend the holiday someplace beautiful, eating beautiful food, being treated with care. It was one of the best services we'd ever done. James gave a toast at the end of the night. To Chef Sophia, who built something real. I thought about Dad's words. About how he dismissed the restaurant as unsustainable, as playing chef, as not real. And I thought about the Michelin star on my wall. The $6.5 million property I owned free and clear. The team I'd built. The guests who traveled across the city to eat my food. I'd built something real. I just built it without him. I expanded the restaurant in June 2025. Provisions took over the neighboring storefront. Another property that had come up for sale. I bought it for $2.1 million, using the equity in my building as collateral. Now we had 80 seats. A private dining room. A proper wine cellar. Space for the team to grow. The expansion was featured in SF Chronicle. The headline, Michelin-starred Provisions doubles down on success. Dad called from a new number. I answered this time. Don't know why. I saw the article, he said. Okay. You bought the building next door. I did. That's smart. Building equity while expanding operations. I said nothing. Sophia, I was wrong. About the restaurant. About you. About what you were capable of building. His voice was strained, like the words were being physically pulled from him. You've built something successful. Something real. I should have seen it sooner. You should have supported it from the beginning. I know. You should have come to my opening night and stayed for dinner. You should have visited more than once in 3 years. You should have asked about the business instead of assuming I was failing. I know. And you definitely shouldn't have tried to shut me down to make room for your consulting firm expansion. Silence. Then, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for all of it. I'm sorry I was too proud to see what you were accomplishing. I'm sorry I let my own definition of success blind me to yours. I looked around my restaurant, full dining room on a Tuesday night, guests laughing, wine flowing, my team executing flawlessly. I appreciate the apology, I said. But Dad, I didn't build this for you. I didn't succeed to prove you wrong. I did it because it's what I love. Because it's what Grandma believed I could do. Because it's mine. I understand. Do you? Because for years you made me feel like I was wasting my potential. Like culinary school was a mistake. Like this restaurant was a cute hobby. You made me feel small. I know. And I'm sorry. Being sorry doesn't undo the damage. It doesn't give me back the years when I needed a father who believed in me and got a father who dismissed everything I did. What can I do to make it right? Nothing. There's nothing you can do. You can't go back and attend my culinary school graduation. You can't go back and stay for my opening night dinner. You can't go back and ask about my business plan instead of assuming I was failing. I took a breath. You can move forward differently. But you can't fix the past. Can I come to dinner? Can we start there? I thought about it for a long time. Make a reservation like everyone else. Tuesday through Thursday are easier to get. Friday and Saturday are booked 6 weeks out. Hey. I will. And Dad? When you come, don't mention the business. Don't tell me what I should do differently. Just eat the food. Appreciate what I've built. See me. I will. I promise. He called 2 weeks later and made a reservation for 2. Showed up on a Thursday with Patricia. They ordered the tasting menu. 8 courses. Wine pairing. I watched from the kitchen as they ate. Watched Dad's face as he tasted the halibut with Meyer lemon and fennel. Watched him close his eyes after the first bite of the wagyu with bone marrow butter. After dessert, Mira brought them back to the kitchen. Chef, your father would like to speak with you. I wiped my hands. Stepped out of the kitchen. Dad looked at me with something I'd never seen in his face before. Genuine respect. That was extraordinary, he said. Every course. The technique, the flavors, the presentation. Sophia, that was world class. Thank you. I'm sorry I didn't see it before. I'm sorry I thought this was a phase or a hobby. You're not playing chef. You're a chef. One of the best in the city. I felt something crack open in my chest. Something that had been closed for a very long time. I appreciate that. Can we start over? Can I be the father who sees you for who you actually are instead of who I thought you should be? We can try. He hugged me. Actually hugged me there in my kitchen with my staff watching. I'm proud of you, he whispered. Your grandmother was right about you. She usually was. Dad comes to dinner once a month now. Always makes a reservation. Always orders whatever I recommend. Always tells me it's excellent. We're not close. Maybe we never will be. Too much damage. Too many years of not being seen. But we're something. Something that might eventually be enough. Provisions is expanding again. We're opening a second location in Oakland. Same concept, different neighborhood. James is going to be the chef de cuisine there. The first location is now valued at $9.2 million. The building appreciated significantly, and the business adds substantial value. I own it all. Free and clear. Protected by an irrevocable trust that my grandmother set up because she saw me when no one else did. Some people say I was lucky. That I only succeeded because Grandma gave me the building. They're wrong. Grandma gave me the space. I built the restaurant. I earned the Michelin star. I created something that draws people from across the city. He gave me the opportunity. I turned it into something extraordinary. My name is Sophia Westbrook. I'm 32 years old. I own a Michelin-starred restaurant in a $9.2 million property held in an irrevocable trust. My father tried to take it from me to build his consulting firm. His face drained of color when my attorney explained he had zero claim. He sees me clearly now. Finally.